All right, so today we are going to be talking about something really controversial within the hair care community on the internet. This is the Brazilian keratin treatment.
This is a Brazilian thing.
So I am going to be answering a ton of questions about them and basically just giving you a Brazilian keratin treatment 101 sort of like lesson or just like explanation from someone who had a keratin treatment, me, almost 5 months ago. I'm not a professional. I am a hair care enthusiast. So that is the angle that I am going to be giving. Those are my credentials for why I can sit here and talk about Brazilian keratin treatments. Questions that I will be addressing in this video, among many others. Are keratin treatments harmful? Do they ruin your hair? Will I personally get it done again? How did I have to alter my hair care routine? And also, one of the most popular questions that I've gotten about Brazilian keratin treatments, how much do they cost? It has been almost 5 months since I had my keratin treatment done. It was the very first time that I had ever had a keratin treatment done to my hair. If you want to know more about the process of getting it done, I will link my full salon vlog in the description below, so make sure to watch that if you want to see like what to expect at the appointment in particular. This was my natural hair before getting the keratin treatment done, my natural air dried hair. And then this was my air dried hair just a few days after getting the keratin treatment. And then this is my air dried hair 5 months later after getting the keratin treatment. I guess one of the first things that we can talk about is just the keratin treatment itself. Now, something that I did not know is that there are hundreds of brands of keratin treatments, and they all have varying levels of chemicals. And I basically just mean the straightening chemical, which is a formaldehyde releaser. Having said that, the keratin treatment that I had done to my hair, I got it done at Fernanda's Beauty Salon in Somerville, Massachusetts. The Brazilian keratin treatment that she uses is literally called Brazilian keratin, and according to Fernanda and her website, the keratin treatment has the smallest amount of formaldehyde that still reduces frizz and straightens your hair. That is like possible to have in a keratin treatment that still has formaldehyde. The main reason that I brought that up after talking about my air dried hair is because with the Brazilian keratin treatment that I had done, let's say that you have really curly hair and you get the exact Brazilian keratin treatment that I had done to my hair, it is not going to make your hairpin straight. It will, however, loosen up your curl pattern, and that is because there's a smaller concentration of formaldehyde in the keratin treatment that I had done. Now, if you get a keratin treatment that has a larger amount of formaldehyde, then yes, if you have like very curly hair, it could definitely most likely make your hairpin straight. I believe that those are called Brazilian blowouts.
Huge blowout.
But I just want to make the huge distinction that I did not have a Brazilian blowout done to my hair. I had a Brazilian keratin treatment, and so these treatments do not make curly hairpins straight. They loosen up the curl. Okay, so now for the big question, how much does a keratin treatment cost? So as I was explaining before, well, salons use different keratin treatments. There are hundreds of brands. Every salon is different. Basically, the price of a Brazilian keratin treatment at Fernanda's Beauty Salon is anywhere from $220 to $360, but it could also go up from there. So yes, it is an expensive procedure. It's an expensive treatment, but for what it does, I definitely think that if it is something that you want, it's definitely worth the money. Another topic related to Brazilian keratin treatments that a lot of people have asked me about is just what types of problems do keratin treatments solve? They reduce your home maintenance, which basically means that they're going to significantly reduce the amount of time it takes for your hair to dry, whether you air dry it or whether you blow dry it. And also, if you like to straighten your hair and have it be like super straight and frizz-free, then this is going to make that a lot easier. So it gets rid of frizz completely. It will loosen your curls. If you have a hair pattern like I did before I got the keratin treatment done, then it will make your hair completely and utterly pin straight. As I said, it cuts drying time in half, which is, you know, related to the home maintenance. And it gives your hair a lot of shine and silkiness. I honestly feel like saying a lot of shine is like an understatement. It makes your hair shine like the top of the Chrysler building. Is that what people say?
Shine like the top of the Chrysler building!
Like the shine is just unreal. The silkiness is unreal. And it seals the ends of your hair to stop breakage. Basically, it seals the hair cuticle. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that about keratin treatments. And that is a good thing because that will help to stop the breakage. Now, I know I said that the price of the keratin treatment was the most asked question, but I actually think that this may be the other most asked, or if not just the most asked question, period. Do keratin treatments damage your hair? That is the question that everyone has. Let me explain to you guys how a keratin treatment works. So the hair is soaked in the keratin treatment, which you guys would see if you watched my salon vlog, and then you blow dry it, and then you flat iron the hair multiple times. Like you pass the flat iron through a really small section of hair. I think Fernanda said 9 to 11 times, although I could be wrong. Basically, as you're straightening, the flat iron is breaking down the proteins in your hair and it's restructuring them so that you get that straight or loosened curl pattern, and you get the reduction in frizz, you get the sealed cuticle. And then obviously the ingredient that a lot of people sort of fear in keratin treatments is a formaldehyde releaser. So that means that once the heat touches the keratin treatment, that's when the formaldehyde is released into the air. People hear the word formaldehyde and they just automatically think that that's how keratin treatments damage your hair. But actually I'm not saying that they do damage your hair, but any potential damage to your hair that you might have from a keratin treatment is probably not going to be from the formaldehyde. One way that a keratin treatment might damage your hair is from the actual application process. So basically, as I was explaining, they have to shampoo your hair 3 times. At least at the salon that I had it done. And so that makes your hair really tangled, and because like every single last bit of oil and product and everything is stripped from your hair. So they have to brush through that. And that in and of itself, I feel like pretty damaging, especially if your hair is already prone to damage. Or if your hair is already damaged, then that is just gonna make your damage or breakage worse. Keep following because there is a way around that, which I'm sure happens, and I will explain that in a second. After they vigorously brush it, they then have to blow dry your hair, and they then have to straighten it multiple times. They take a really small section of your hair and they pass the straightener through. As I said, I think 9 to 11 times. It could be more than that. When I straighten my hair, I've just found that it mostly impacts the ends of my hair because that's where my hair already is the most damaged. So when the straightener is passing through, it is probably going to damage the ends of your hair a little bit. If you guys are following, all of the heat to your hair can be damaging that's done during the application process. However, from my experience, it mainly just happens at the ends. That's where my hair usually gets mostly damaged from straightening. Here's the but. If you get the ends of your hair trimmed after the keratin treatment, particularly once your hair has been fully blow dried, then that is pretty much just going to avoid the damage issue altogether, because any damage that was done during the straightening process is just going to be cut off. I think honestly that's why my hair has not felt damaged at all ever since getting the keratin treatment, because any potential damage that was done to my hair from straightening, I'm pretty sure that it was just like cut off. I was researching keratin treatments and I found this quote, so I'm just going to read it to you. The high temperature of the flat iron to seal the chemical into the hair is bad if you have existing damage to your strands of hair. And so that's really important, because I think a lot of people just think automatically keratin treatments are going to damage your hair no matter what hair type you have. But just remember that if your hair is damaged, then it is going to be more prone to damage. It's going to be very sensitive. So the straightening is going to make it worse. Yes, but that can be remedied by just trimming off the ends after you get the keratin treatment done. Does the actual treatment damage your hair? I'm gonna be honest, this was like hard to find information on, because truthfully I thought that the keratin treatment may potentially damage your hair, like the actual treatment itself, but I was not able to find anything online. With a keratin treatment, the cuticles are sealed shut. So if you have porous hair before a keratin treatment, then your hair is going to be more prone to moisture overload, because the water can seep through the the lifted cuticles when you're washing your hair when your hair gets wet. Now, likewise, protein is able to seep out if you have lifted cuticles, which is not good for your hair, for the health of your hair, the structure of your hair. So with the keratin treatment, the hair cuticles, as I said multiple times, are going to remain shut. So for the most part, you're not going to experience moisture overload, protein depletion, like whatever is in your hair shaft is going to remain in your hair shaft as long as you have the keratin treatment on your hair. One of the things Fernanda told me when I got the keratin treatment done is that she said a lot of her clients who otherwise had a hard time growing out their hair are able to grow out their hair with the keratin treatment because it basically protects your hair from damage. It stops the damage because it's sealing the cuticle, and thus the ends will stay intact so your hair can grow with the ends staying intact. Does that make sense? I also think that because of the extreme heat and because of the formaldehyde, this is not something that you should be getting done on a regular basis. And just going off of that, the formaldehyde part, I think that the main issue with keratin treatments are with the formaldehyde being released when heat is applied to your hair. From what I've read, that's not going to impact the quality of your hair, at least for the keratin treatment that I had done, which has a smaller concentration of formaldehyde. I talked a lot about this at the salon vlog, but the salon that I had my keratin treatment done in was unbelievably well ventilated. There was like industrial air purifiers on the ceilings. They had the windows open. They had the doors open. They had a humongous fan in front of me. And just so you guys know, it's not the poison, it is the dose.
It's a small dose, it's nothing.
I feel like the small amount of formaldehyde that I was inhaling is nothing because there's formaldehyde in fruit. If you are in a well-ventilated salon and you don't want to get this done on a regular basis, then my hair care enthusiast opinion is that it is totally fine. Also, I would recommend you to get the, try to find a salon that does the keratin treatment that I had done where it's like the lower levels of formaldehyde. And something that I've read a lot from people is that once the keratin treatment rinsed out, their hair felt incredibly damaged. You have to remember that you become so used to your hair feeling pin straight and not feeling any frizz on your hair at all, that once your natural hair texture comes back, that may be shocking to you and you may attribute it to damage, when in reality that's how it felt before the keratin treatment. You're just so used to it not feeling like that. All in all, I think that keratin treatments are not as bad for your hair, not nearly as bad for your hair as people make them seem, and I think that the bad reputation that they have on the internet is unwarranted. Moving on. Would I keep getting the keratin treatments done to my hair? No, I am not going to get a keratin treatment done to my hair again. And the only reason for that is because I miss my hair's natural texture and volume. One of the things that happened after I got a keratin treatment was that my hair became pin straight and it lost like so much of the volume. It didn't look as thick. I love the frizz-free aspect of it though. I went to Orlando in February and I did not have any frizz on my hair whatsoever, which never happens. Like every time we go to Disney World, my hair is extremely frizzy because of the humidity, but because of the keratin treatment, I didn't have any frizz. So that is going to be the only thing that I'm gonna miss about the keratin treatment. Also the fact that it takes significantly less time to air dry, which is amazing, but I do really miss my hair's natural texture. Another question that I get asked a lot ever since I have had a keratin treatment done to my hair: does the keratin treatment make your hair fall out? And when they say fall out, they're suggesting that the keratin treatment itself prematurely detaches your hair shaft from the root. No, the keratin treatment itself, like the chemicals in the keratin treatment, do not cause your hair to fall out prematurely. This is what I hypothesized about the whole like it makes your hair fall out theory. Imagine that you have really, really curly hair and your hair is hard to brush through, so you don't really brush through it that much. You brush through after you wash it. Your hair naturally sheds every single day, and that's just natural. So imagine that you're not brushing your hair. It's gonna shed, but it's not going to be released because you're not really putting any sort of tension on it, so it's just gonna stay there basically. Then all of a sudden your hair becomes pin straight. It's much easier to brush through, and so what ends up happening is that all of those hairs that had shed previously that you just hadn't like brushed out or combed out, they're going to be released. So it's going to look like you have lost a lot of hair, when in reality all of that hair would have been released anyway. And then as you have the keratin treatment, if you're noticing more shedding, that's probably going to be because you're able to brush your hair more, as opposed to when you had really curly hair, you couldn't brush it as much. It's not that it makes your hair fall out more, it just makes the natural hair shedding more noticeable. I kind of want to discuss some of the cons of getting a keratin treatment done that I've encountered over the last 5 months. It's going to loosen your curl pattern. Depending on the state of your hair before getting a keratin treatment, it may make your hair pin straight. And with that, you are going to lose a lot of volume. And that is one of the main things that I did not like about the keratin treatment. I felt like my hair was really flat. I think my natural air dried hair, there is more volume, and I did miss the slight wave that I had at the end of my hair. Now, when I'm saying that, like, does that mean that keratin treatments or the keratin treatment I had done is bad? No, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It's just, if you like your hair to have lots of volume and you don't really like the pin straight look, maybe this wouldn't be for you. But it just all depends on like your texture, because everyone's gonna get different results based on the texture that they're starting out with. Now, another question that I got asked a lot, does it protect your hair? Yes, it does protect your hair. You are literally sealing the hair's cuticle. So there's not going to be any raising of the cuticle, because when your cuticle is raised, like, think about it. Cuticle is raised, it's just a lot more prone to getting damaged. With a keratin treatment, your cuticle is laid flat. The ends are protected. Now, another question, how long do these Brazilian keratin treatments last? So the one that I had done, I believe is supposed to last anywhere from 3 to 4 months and even longer, like depending on the texture that you started out with. From what I read online, it looks like generally speaking, they can last from 2 weeks to 6 months. When you do get a keratin treatment, you want to avoid things like sulfates and chlorine, because those are two things that can strip the keratin from your hair. Now, another question, how does it grow out? So when your roots grow in, which my roots, I think my roots are probably like up to here, they are gonna grow in your hair's normal natural texture. However, I am not entirely sure how a keratin treatment will look once it has been like rinsed out. I don't know if your hair is gonna be like 100% back to normal, or if there's gonna be some sort of variation, like if you're just going to have a loosened curl pattern like indefinitely until the rest of your hair grows out. For me, what I've experienced so far is that my hair is still really straight. My baby hairs though are not pin straight anymore, and the frizz has returned a little bit. So that's like what I found so far. So maybe like the frizz comes back, but your hair, the texture remains the same. Okay, now, do sulfates and silicones remove the treatment from your hair? Sulfates, yes. Silicones, no. I was told to avoid harsh sulfates and chlorine in pools. Another question, can you still do your normal hair care routine? Pretty much yes, except as I said, you want to avoid sulfates. You can still do what you used to do. You can still curl your hair. You can still use like nice hair masks and silicones and stuff like that, but you probably won't need them as much because your hair is not going to be as frizzy. You're probably not going to need to use as much heat and all of that stuff. My hair care routine is pretty consistent with what it was before. However, I have started to use a lot more Olaplex in my hair care routine and hair masks. I use a lot of Kerastase. I use a lot of Moroccan oil, and pretty much I just use the same products that I used before except for sulfates. Now, this has been my entire keratin treatment, like 101 from my experience. Fernanda did an amazing job. Like, it did what it was supposed to do. It's just that I don't think it's for me. Remember, make sure to check with the concentration of formaldehyde in your keratin treatment. Make sure that the salon you're going to is really well ventilated. Make sure that you're not getting it done like frequently on a regular basis, and you will be good. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate all of the love and support, and I'm pretty sure by the time that I upload this video, we will have hit 1 million subscribers, and I cannot even explain to you how, oh my God, like I could just like sit here and cry just thinking about it. I really appreciate you following me and just like watching my videos and stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any other keratin treatment questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will see if I can answer them. And I will talk to you guys next time.